Welcome to the study. It's Professor Hemlock. Here today I am bringing you a plus 16 Halls breakdown where we are using the Crane build that I discussed in the Best Mythic Plus Arcane Mage build. I'm really excited to bring this and show you what this build is capable of on the damage meters. So to kind of preface this just a little bit here, I made a bet with the boomkin for a gold sum that I would out DPS him. This boomkin is a 1720 IO score boomkin with an item score north of 224. So this guy is a big damage player, knows what he's doing. So let's open up here. So we're on our opening here. They want me to lust first pull, so we put Touch of the Magi on. Then we're going to do our 3 Arcane Blasts. Right there, I actually use a 4th Arcane Blast. Now, kind of want to pause this here for a second. Something I have been testing is actually, instead of doing just your 3 Presence of Mind Arcane Blasts, doing a 4th one. That way you're getting the full 5 seconds of that crit window, and then it drops off, and then you go right into your AoE rotation after, and you get another 5 seconds. I don't think it's better. Stick to the original plan, but I kind of wanted to explain what I was doing there. Kind of wanted to been testing it out a little bit. It's not better. And then we go into a traditional AoE rotation. So looks really clean on the first pull. No deaths, no mistakes. We've got everything on cooldown, which is nice. The boomkin started off really strong. The Paladin is Venthyr here, so we're going to always have that uptime right there. Right here, what I should have done... Actually, I can see why I did what I did. So, I have Touch of the Magi off cooldown, but I don't have Palm off cooldown, so I actually don't think it was worth cycling my cooldowns. And there's going to be another small pull prior to the Pride, and then the big pull. So I hold my CDs right here. So still pretty clean. Now what we're really looking out for here is these Dark Blades do an ability called Deadly Thrust. You do not want to be in front of that Deadly Thrust, otherwise you're going to get smacked and it's going to hurt. So right here I make the mistake of launching my orb that hits the target, refreshing my 5-second crit buff. I should have waited till I got Touch of the Magi on and then gone ahead and done it, but small mistake. I still utilized most of that 5-second window with the crit bonus, so it's not too big of a deal. We are focusing the Houndmaster down here, and we'll go into the Gargans after. When there's 2 targets and you get a clear casting proc, it's definitely better to cast Arcane Missiles as opposed to spamming Arcane Explosion. So that's what I do here. Looking real clean. Utilizing Fire Blast right there just as a little extra damage finisher. Now right here I want to make a note. When you have Shifting Power coming up and you're on a Pride before a big pull, you can't use Presence of Mind, but you can use Touch of the Magi, as we'll see coming up here. When I Shifting Power, after all I've spent this, I then will have Touch of the Magi back up for the big pull, but I can't use Palm. Palm would not be back up. That 15 seconds does actually make a difference. So it's something to note here. You can use Touch of the Magi before a big pull if you have Shifting Power available. You cannot use Presence of Mind. Refreshing my defensive options right there. That's really good. Beautiful. So now look at the cooldowns here. I have everything up for this. So I Palm, Touch of the Magi, 3 blasts. Again, we're focusing the casters down right here. I Barrage. And I don't have my orb cooldown up because I used it. That was a mistake on the previous pull. You want to get away for max distance on the thrashes right here, so that's kind of what I do. Wow, that was a really big crit right there. It was pretty nice. Shimmer out of the way of the AoE, and then we go back in to finish this mob off with some AoEs. Really good focus priority targeting here. The whole group was focusing on killing all the caster mobs. So now that we can all try and maintain range on this shade or shard and then be fine. Going into this next pull, it looks like we have Palm off cooldown relatively soon. We have Shifting Power, so I need to utilize Shifting Power here. I probably... There we go, I waited long enough. That's nice. So now I can just go into a traditional rotation where I touch, 3 blasts, barrage. Now look, you can see in that top right there, it refreshed my crit buff after I'd cast it, so I got another 5-second utilization out of that. And then once I've orbed, I can go into a Shifting Power again. I reapply Prismatic Barrier to make our healer's job as easy as possible. Can't tell everyone enough here how important every week where there's a healer-based affix that it is to simply utilize your defensive options. It's going to help the keys get timed. If you don't die, you don't you don't lose your food buff. You don't get 5 seconds knocked off the clock. Right there. Oh, mistake. I should have kicked. I had my kick off cooldown and just missed my kick. So, kind of a bummer there. I could have helped. Of course, I did kind of gimmick that, because those little animated sins gave me the 5-second crit buff again, so I was able to get another refresh on my crit bonus. So that was a little bit of an interesting decision there. Interesting. I didn't even think that those small mobs would proc it, but it is really any mob, so... We should go into a nice little single target here, just spamming Arcane Blast. You want to be at max range here. I do have my mirrors up, so I'm going to be taking a little bit less damage. I apply my barrier again. I think my logic there was, yeah, I was trying to get my palm back off cooldown for the next pull. So that way I could have a palm AP go here. And it looked like it actually worked out nicely. So I'll be able to palm AP. Since Pride is the next pull, you always want to try and use your AP on the pack before Pride, unless it's going into a boss. So it's like, I know we're going to have to pull this center pack after. So I know that I can use my AP on the pack prior to the Pride, and then I should have it back up by the next time I actually need the cooldown here. Okay, so now I barrage, and then I touch. And then what I'm going to probably end up doing here... Oh, move in, move in! Okay, good. I'm like standing 5 yards away from the anti-magic shell. You gotta step into that every time. Unfortunately, I do get hit by that, so that's a mistake. Should have paid more attention. And I mistimed my CDs by a little bit. This is I should have been more patient right there. I probably should have held my damage. Right there, I make another mistake. I put Palm on right there, but I decided that it was too late since I didn't get my first 5 crit buffs, and that mob that I had Touch of the Magi on was dying, that I decided it would have been better to hold my Presence of the Mind right there. So I shouldn't have applied Presence of Mind, because now it limits what I can do. Now I can't open with I can't open with my single targeting abilities, and I can't open with Palm. So this kind of forces me into a position where we need to do a bunch of damage on this pack, so I kind of need to use AP here, and I don't have the proper cooldowns available for Arcane Power. So this overall, how that turned out and how that played out was very poorly for my overall DPS. Like right here, that pull I did 11k DPS, so I'm at 10.5 right now, with when I used AP and everything. So that's bad. That's not good. I should have been doing, anywhere between 15 to 16k DPS right there if I had properly managed my cooldowns. Again, reapplying that barrier every time I can. Right there, I probably shouldn't have orbed. Because I orbed, I'm not sure if I'm going to have it up for the next pull. The healer's blaming people for not being at max range on Thrash. We all got the film. I was at max range. So right here, I'm not exactly sure of the tank's route. So I don't know if we're going to go straight into the boss after this. So I do use Arcane Power here. I actually think it's worth. I know I'm not going to be doing good single target damage compared to the boomkin anyways, and the boomkin's going to absolutely decimate the meters on single target, so I should probably utilize my cooldowns to focus on killing a very difficult AoE pack. Watch for the tank. Tank's moving. We line up our orbs so we can hit all of them. Very good. And now we get to finish off the Pride here. Great lineup on that orb there to make sure not only that I got 4 arcane charges, but I was also able to help finish off that mob in the back there. Right here, my prismatic barrier drops. Wow. I was wondering if I was going to apply it, and I applied it. Very good use of defensive cooldowns there. I have my mirrors up. I have my prismatic barrier up. Really clean right now. You can kind of see here, everyone HP bowl besides me and the DK is dumping, so it's really good. I evocate here because I want to make sure I have full mana going into this. We do use touch, we lust, and we start pumping out some damage. Look at the boomkin, 27k single target DPS. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. I don't use Shimmer there because I worry about shimmering out too much. Relatively safe. We do use our Arcane Power when we still have the Prideful buff, so that's still a good utilization. Right there, I'm going to use touch just to make sure I can get out as much damage near the end there. I had shifting power available anyways. Kind of a meh use, but on this pull coming up right here, tanks typically like to kite this pull, so I wanted to be a little bit more of aggressive use on my cooldowns. We did still pull over 7k single target DPS, and we beat the DK on single target DPS that pull. I stand in the Deadly Thrust right there. If I didn't have a bunch of versatility, I probably would have gotten one shot by that mechanic. I also toss my orb and pull the Ankle Biters. I do know that tanks typically pull that, and I'm pretty sure the route he had was one where he wanted to pull that. So it wasn't the end of the world that I pulled that. Our Pride timing's going to be perfect still, and he probably wanted to pull it. That's what you always say when you make a mistake. The tank probably wanted to pull it, right? All right, here we go. I open up with shifting power here because I have all my cooldowns available, and I want to utilize them all. That way, now I had everything up, and I just focus on a single target rotation here. Since there's only 2 targets, it is better to just use the single target rotation. Once you have 3 or more targets, then it starts becoming more effective to utilize Arcane Explosion and a traditional AoE rotation. Good stuff. Tank's going to pull both of the slashers here. Now, remember, right here, you don't want to start your damage until you're ready to start actually getting your crit buff up. So I touch the Magi, and then again, it's 2 targets. I should go into a single target rotation here. Very nice. Right there, I think I was trying to maximize my damage out of that touch of the Magi window while I still had my Wild Hunt tactics up. Probably would have been better if I stuck to just utilizing single target, but I had orb off cooldown, so probably could have been 50-50 there. But we do want to single target these down. They start doing a lot of damage, and when you kill one before the other, it'll make sure that there's as little consistent damage coming out as possible. I'm getting 4 charges, and we're going to dump. And that's all we're doing now is we are trying to get our Arcane Blast or our Arcane Barrage to have enough charges just to do a little bit of damage. And then we go back into a little single target rotation. Now the boss is going to come out right after this. We won't have Lust for it. We will have Pride before the boss here. So right now I'm looking at my cooldowns. Perfect. I've got AP off cooldown. I've got Touch off cooldown. And I've got Rune off cooldown. So I can, again... Oh, that was so cringe. That was so cringe. I even knew it was cringe when I did it. I think I fat-fingered Arcane Barrage there. I dumped it instead of... That's funny. I love how I shake my camera there like I'm upset at myself. Look at this dude moving so much. Oh. So that hurt. That hurt. Because now it looks like I'm still going to have Touch of the Magi off cooldown. But I wasn't able to get the additional orb out. I'm eating as much as I can to make sure I get as much mana back as possible in between pulls. 18,000 crit, 18,000 crit, 19,000 crit. Look at that damage. Look at that damage. Oh my god, that's just crazy. We go into a small AoE rotation here to kill the ads. Pro move right there, decurse yourself so you can maintain higher uptime on damage. The boomkin does it as well. You can kind of see in the corner there. Me and the boomkin are just like trying to pump these damage. I want that gold. No cooldowns right now, just Pride, and we're critting for 11,000. I'm telling you, I love this build. We're at 100% mana, so we get that Enlightened buff, and it does so much damage. I don't need to move here because all the ads are already dead. And once the ads are all grouped up here, we AoE, we barrage our main target, which is the final boss. We shifting power. Oh, nice. We're going to touch the Magi, then shifting power. So now we're getting it back off cooldown again. Really clean utilization of cooldowns. We'll have orb back up again. That was great. That was just really good utilization. We decurse ourselves. That way we're able to continue putting out damage, and we're able to down the boss. And on that boss fight, we did 8.3k DPS, topped the meters. Very beautiful. That was great. Here, it doesn't look like we're going to have any of our major CDs up. So we're just going to do a dumpster AoE rotation, or barrage, explosion, barrage. Looks like we'll touch in the middle of a pull here since we have it. Pumping a little bit more single target damage into there. I think I end up getting aggro of one of the mobs here or something. Yeah, high threat. And then I do pull aggro. So when you get aggro of something like that, you want to line of sight it or range it as much as possible. Give the tank as much leeway to pull back threat as possible. A great use of shifting power here is pretty much the second it came up off cooldown, I utilized that shifting power. Orb, I threw it and I hit as many mobs as I could there. Really good. And then we finish it off with just explosions and barrage. Pretty good pull. Slight desyncing of cooldowns, but it ended up working out because I had shifting power coming up and I was aware that I could capitalize off shifting power coming up and use my Touch of the Magi mid-pull. Very good because I did not hold on to CDs there when I didn't need to. Right here, I do have AP up, and again, I know that I'm not going to do a bunch of single-target boss damage, and that boomkin's done to destroy me on single-target boss damage, so I focus on AoE damage. We avoid... Oh, man, that was great. I think every barrage crit there, that was the nuts. My kick's on cooldown, so I can't kick this. Make sure to get that AoE in. You can see that I get the 5 seconds of first strike buff again. All the crits are just popping off. Looking good. Thank you to whoever didn't kick that. Helping out my damage. Alright, so we don't have any cooldowns here. Besides our just basic ones. So we're just going to go into a normal basic rotation here. We touch, we palm, we just focus on single target, and we weave in our clear casting procs, utilizing our kick when the boss does the volley. Now right here, I positioned myself behind this anima tube because my thought was that, okay, maybe I end up getting, I get fixated on, so I want to be near that tube anyways. That way, it just goes straight to me, and I don't have to utilize movement. And that's exactly what happened. So it ended up working out great in my favor. We do have AP off cooldown right now in the execute phase here, so I want to touch AP, palm. That's exactly what I do. Good stuff. I do desync the cooldown with my Orc Racial, so that's the one little oopsie. I could have probably waited that extra 10 seconds. I think my worry was that if I waited, the boss would already taken too much damage and I wouldn't have gotten a max utilization of my cooldowns out. But it does look like I would have been able to. So that was a mistake. I should have waited 10 more seconds prior to using my Arcane power. So small things like that could have improved my DPS. And because we utilized our Arcane power on the previous pack, we do a little bit lower damage here. I'm trying to line up my orb, making sure I hit all of them. Very good. Now we're going to have first strikes up a lot here. The one thing you do kind of want to be aware of is that your mana pool is actually going to get drained here. So I have threat of them right now, so I block. I was pretty low there. I think what I should have done there was invis first instead of blocking first. That was most likely a mistake. If I had invised first, I would have taken less damage and dropped threat. Probably just would have been a generically better utilization of my abilities. Like, because right now I am taking it when they're fixated on me. I should invis. I do invis. Very good. Now I'm taking less damage. The Druid drops Treants out. Very nice. That'll help out not only myself. I probably should have put... I guess it's okay to put Touch of the Magi on the boss there. I don't know about that one. I think it might have been better to save Touch of the Magi. Yeah, that was probably a misuse of cooldowns right there. If I had saved Touch of the Magi for when I was ready to single target the boss, it probably would have done more damage rather than utilizing Touch of Magi to get 4 charges than Barrage. Definitely not the most DPS loss because I was still able to get a 4-charge Arcane Barrage out and hit all the ads, so it did do a lot of damage. But definitely a little bit questionable, and if it was the absolute best use of the cooldown there. At this point, I am holding everything besides Touch of the Magi and Shifting Power because I know that we're going to have Pride spawn once this mob dies. I want to be at full mana for the Pride spawn here. Or Barrage, then Touch of the Magi. Now I go into a single target rotation. Don't move when you get the Pride. Make sure everyone else moves. High Shifting Power. Now I'll have Orb up. Reapply my Prismatic Barrier to make sure I'm taking less damage. Utilize those Clear Casts procs. And then we finish this guy off here. Good stuff. So right here now I have everything off cooldown. It's going to be great. We're going to Lust, Touch of the Magi. We use our pot, and then we warp it. That Boomkin's damage on the start of pulls, look at it. 20,000 damage. Holy Moses. Move out of the way to make sure we don't get hit there. Move into position, so we're taking some of the soak there. Very good. And then we're just doing our single target rotation. The Boomkin here currently is doing a lot of damage. Whew. We're in execute phase, so we're just going to use touch. We're going to try and drain our mana as much as possible. Right here, I could shimmer in if I wanted to help soak some of this damage. Yep, I'm going to need to. So I stopped my Shifting Power cast. Me and the healer both moved out of that. We're utilizing Palm just to get more charges for our Arcane Blast. Every ounce of damage at this point. We get the finish on the boss. I get to keep my money. Imagine Arcane Mage being good. We topped the meters, 6.5k overall DPS. Oh. This new build. I love it. I love it. It feels so right. It is so much damage. So, yeah, overall there, you kind of get the playstyle of the build. You're maximizing your first strike's crit bonus. You're focusing all of your damage. You're funneling it into all of that single target. Or all that single target in the beginning and then going into an AoE rotation. Utilizing cooldowns as much as possible, especially, I did a really good job of utilizing Touch of the Magi with Shifting Power as much as possible, going back and forth. That's really how you want to maximize that use there. That Boomkin was a very high IO score Boomkin too, which feels great that we were able to beat him here. Going over the damage breakdown, pretty traditional damage breakdown. Let's actually do some math real quick, huh? I'm curious. So we had 361 hits, of which 91 were crits. So we averaged about a 25.2% crit chance on Barrage there. That's a little bit lower than I would say it normally is. I typically am averaging over 30% crit, so with really how longer the boss fights were, probably overall reduced my Barrage crit percentage by a little bit there. A lot of damage though, having a 60k Barrage, Really clean run. Arcane Blast there. Biggest was a 20k crit. Really good damage. I want to thank everyone for watching. This was a plus 16 hauls, and we topped the meters over the boomkin, and I get to keep my gold that I bet. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video. Drop a comment down below if you got any questions about how to utilize this build, and if maybe I missed describing something a little bit. And if you need any help with Arcane or have any questions about Arcane and how to maximize your gameplay, you let me know. This is Professor Hemlock. I am signing off. Everyone have a great day.